Program, B.S. English. Course, 19th Century English Novel. Topic, Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice as a Feminist Text. Prepared by, Dr. Shahryar Khan. Question. Discuss Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice as a feminist text. Or, do you think Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice deals with the issues of women's rights and agency? Discuss. Introduction. Is it right to call Jane Austen a feminist? She lived and wrote in the age when the term feminism has not yet become popular. She might have read Mary Wollstonecraft's polemique Vindication of the Rights of Women, which was published in 1792. Wollstonecraft expressed this wish to see women treated as the rational equals of men. We do find the echo of this wish in the fiction of Jane Austen. This fact cannot be denied that her fiction is focused on women and their socio-economic status in the late 18th century England. The critic Rebecca West is of the view that Austen's female characters are very conscious of their social and economic situation. Margaret Kirkham went as far to say that Mary Wollstonecraft and Jane Austen have the same goal when it comes to the rights of women. Claudia L. Johnson comments on feminism of Jane Austen in these words. Austen is a subversive writer who uses the domestic novel to challenge the patriarchal structures of her time. Her heroines are not passive, they are rational agents who demand to be heard. Focusing on her novel Pride and Prejudice, we would analyze the extent to which this statement holds true for Jane Austen. Point 1. The late 18th century English society did not grant women autonomy and agency. They were expected to function within traditional gender roles like mothers, wives, sisters, daughters, etc. Obedience and conformity to the patriarchal norms were considered virtues. The scope of Jane Austen's fiction is also limited to domestic sphere as she mostly deals with marriage and family. However, her female characters are highly individualistic. If we take the example of Pride and Prejudice, we find that Elizabeth is not a woman who completely fits into the idea of a traditional lady. She walks 3 miles to Netherfield to see her sister Jane. She stands up to Lady Catherine de Bourgh and refuses to be impressed by her status and class. When Mr. Collins proposes to her, she claims that she has the right to autonomous choice. Do not consider me now as an elegant female intending to plague you, but as a rational creature speaking the truth from her heart. This idea of a rational creature was introduced by many 18th century philosophers like John Locke. However, women were not yet considered to fall under this category. Elizabeth's demand is against the established conception of a female in that society. We cannot say that she is a feminist in the modern sense, but she wants to prove herself as an independent individual. Point 2. In the society in which Jane Austen lived herself, women had no economic opportunities. They had to depend on men for their economic needs. Jane Austen was sharply aware of this fact as she herself was an unmarried daughter of a poor priest. The women had 2 options, inherit money or marry it. Austen has highlighted this issue in many of her novels. In Pride and Prejudice, in the very beginning, we come to know that Bennet estate is entailed. As per this law, if a landowner does not have any male heir, after his death, his estate would go to his nearest male relative. As Mr. and Mrs. Bennet have 5 daughters, their estate is entailed to Mr. Bennet's cousin Mr. Collins. After the death of Mr. Bennet, his wife and daughters have to leave their home. They would lose their source of income too. In such a scenario, marriage is the only option left for Bennet's sisters. This is the reason that Mrs. Bennet is so obsessed with the marriage of her daughters. Austen says about her that the business of her life was to get her daughters married. Though Mrs. Bennet calls Mr. Collins odious, when he proposes to Elizabeth, she is so delighted and presses her daughter to marry him. She is aware of this fact that Elizabeth does not like him, but she sees this as an opportunity to keep Longbourn in the family. Through this dilemma of Bennet family, we come to know the plight of women in the society of that time. Point 3. Through the marriage of Charlotte Lucas, we come to know what kind of choices were available to women in that time. She is 27-year-old daughter of Sir William Lucas. By the standards of that time, she has passed the ideal age of getting married. When Mr. Collins is rejected by Elizabeth, he proposes to Charlotte and she readily accepts it. Unlike Elizabeth, Charlotte is realistic and pragmatic. She is aware of this fact that her economic prospects are very limited. If she does not get married, she will be left alone and poor. I am not romantic, you know, I never was. I ask only a comfortable home, and considering Mr. Collins's character, connection, and situation in life, I am convinced that my chance of happiness with him is as fair as most people can boast on entering the marriage state. She knows that she can't be happy with Mr. Collins. She only accepts his proposal because he can provide her home and security. Moreover, she knows that Mr. Collins would inherit Longbourn estate after the death of Mr. Bennet. Keeping in view the situation of women of that time, Charlotte does not have any better alternative. She has to sacrifice her dreams of romance and happiness for the sake of economic security. Mary Poovey says that her marriage is a transaction of necessity that exposes the economic helplessness of women in the 19th century. Conclusion. To conclude, we can say that Austen's feminism is not radical. It is a quiet revolution within a limited sphere. Her fiction is meant to entertain and not to offend. Moreover, her purpose is not reformation. In her own limited way, Austen questions the norms and values prevalent in her times. She has used domestic novel to challenge patriarchal structures. Her heroines do not passively obey. They have the courage to say no. Sandra Gilbert and Susan Goodbar comment upon Austen's strong female characters in these words. Austen's heroines are shut up in the drawing room, but their minds are rebelliously free.